course.
Excellent. All right. Thank you guys for that wonderful introduction so far. SMB3, I'd say we go ahead and get this started, and we'll kind of let the game speak for itself. So, runners, if you're ready, we will go in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, and these guys will be getting started here in just one moment. And huge shout out to TEEX88, Stewie Cartman, and TheHaxor for running this game. It is a classic. It's one of my all-time favorites, even with all the new games that are running out. This is Super Mario Brothers 3. If you're not familiar with this game, you are in for a treat. These are some of the best runners in the game. What we're doing is a category called 80% Warpless. Now, for those of you that are familiar with this game, a Warpless means that we're not going to be allowing any of our runners to use the flutes that they will be able to get in a couple of different places. So I explain it like that because they are going to be going for a warp whistle at the end of the first fortress that they come to. So we'll be watching for that. I'll explain that just a little bit later. Basically, it comes down to speed, and the map itself is actually a lot quicker going for the warp whistle as opposed to not going for it and having to go through the boom boom fight and an extra room. But yeah, so we're going to be getting started here in just a little bit. This is a really a great run. 100% is a lot of fun too, especially if you know a lot about the vanilla game and kind of get a chance to watch it a little bit. But as we see, Stewie Cartman and all three of these players actually, they are going for the P speed strat to get to the last block, which of course holds that tail, and then they utilize that P speed that they still have, and it's about like 250 frames, I believe. Then they're able to get all the way up to the top, utilize that wing before the P speed does run out, get the warp whistle, and even though they won't use it, they will hold on to that for the rest of the run. So we won't see that again, except for another inventory opening that they do. World 1-5, as soon as they get the tail, they do lose it, as they are more interested in the P speed there, which, as we play the vanilla game as kids, I always like to slide down that. That's actually a little bit slower because you're not able to utilize that P speed. So these guys are just going to go ahead and damage boost through it. And also, it's part of it is because the leaf takes so much out of the P speed strat. It actually is detrimental to the runners as they're not able to do the full P speed like they're supposed to, because after the 250 frames, the P speed does run out for anyone with a tail. But if you have a mushroom, you just continue to run. So all three runners are going to be headed to the castle. Both TEEX and TheHaxor neck and neck right here, near sync up here. Stewie Cartman right behind them. Had just a little bit of an issue with 1-5 back there. He wasn't quite able to get over that last hump, which is very unfortunate. But honestly, until Bowser falls, anything can happen. So great game, great setup so far. Like I said, these guys are just absolute masters of this game, absolute veterans. You look at SMB3 runners, and when you look at the best, you can't go any further than this. But also want to give a huge shout out to Game Over Cancer, as well as the Canadian Cancer Society, which is obviously why we're here. Great causes. It's a great game for a great cause. So, just keep that in mind. Doing really, really good things here by supporting them. But so, as we're in this auto scroller, we have really not a whole lot going on here. We're going to see an auto scroller at the end of every world. Some mod hacks and stuff you'll see will actually take those auto scrollers out so that you can go a lot faster. This is vanilla. This is if you plugged it in your old NES gaming system, and if you were to put in the SMB3 cartridge, this is exactly what you'd be playing as well. So pretty standard runs from all three of our runners so far. Stewie Cartman having 11 coins right now, he will have to be mindful of that going into the next world. Obviously, we don't want any coin ships. Those do take a lot longer, but these guys are good. It won't even be a factor. But one thing to note, all three of these runners do have the Fire Flower. They all used very similar strats there because the Fire Kill is actually faster than having to jump 3 times on the Koopa Kids' heads. So all three of these runners now on 2-1. Pretty standard. There's just a slight cutback at the very beginning where you have to jump onto the note box. But other than that, it's just hold right and run as fast as you can. Got to go fast, and that's what we're going to do here. Now, as the players run to 2-2, this one actually is a little bit more technical. There's been some manipulation and stuff that has come out for this, but getting a piece speed here is super difficult. But so long as you can time your jumps right, you're going to get through the level just fine, no problem at all, as we saw all three of our runners just do as well. Fav, I've been told if you're having some audio issues to refresh your browser or close it and reopen it. Apparently Twitch has been having some issues as well. So anybody else has been having those problems, hopefully that resolves it for you. 2-1, this is a pretty iconic level, one that if you've been playing vanilla is very familiar to a lot of people. Pretty standard. I mean, just not a whole lot of stuff going on here. Typically, there are some strategies that have come out. I believe TheHaxor was talking about that when I had a microphone issue. But it's there is a little bit of manipulation that can go into this as well. And I'm not sure if any of the runners will do it. It takes just a little bit of time, and if you get it wrong, that's a kind of a high risk, high reward situation. Because one of the Hammer Brothers actually can come across the screen, and that Hammer Brother happens to have a hammer. And with that, you're able to break the rock at the bottom and actually bypass several levels, and it obviously speeds up the run quite immensely. So not going to see a whole lot of that here. That's something that you do when you're wanting to grind the runs to try to get like a world record. Obviously, if one of them had gotten it, that'd be huge. That'd be very exciting for sure. But you know, you got to play the marathon game. Got to go through as much as you can. So all our runners now going into the Angry Sun level. I take that back. Actually, two of the runners will, as Stewie Cartman is. No, I take that back. No, all three of them are now on the Angry Sun. I apologize. I thought Boomerang Brother was going to get in the way. No big deal. This one's just very easy as well. It's very flat, very straight. It's the first appearance of the Angry Sun, and this one is definitely scary. I have to agree with Nero Mom here. She used to hate this level as a kid. I did too. Totally get it. The sun always aggravated me and always got me so scared because I couldn't run fast enough. It was always on my tail. It was going to get me. And of course, timing as a kid was just absolutely terrifying. But pretty standard runs from 2-4. If you're playing the vanilla game, you might be tempted, like I was, to just fly up to the very top left and go through that. You know, it was a chance to... I apologize. Yeah, so Teeks and Stewie Cartman both went 2-4 because they wanted to take on the Hammer Brother that was up on the top right corner, whereas the TheHaxor actually went through 2-5 and had just a little... I got that backwards, sorry. Anyway, they're all now moving on to the Pyramid. And I know that one. I know that level. No, I'm just teasing. But this one is a lot of fun. You do have to start off with a shell, though, as you do have to break through a couple of the walls. Unless you're Tail Mario, but as we specified before, not really something that you want to have to contend with. It's having a tail is great for a couple of levels, but other than that, it's just actually going to slow you down. TEEX88, TheHaxor both having flawless runs through there. Stewie Cartman had just a little bit of an issue with one of the tails. But or with one of the shells not quite operating like it was supposed to. At this point, I probably should mention, I do promise these are two separate runners between TEEX88 and TheHaxor. Also, Rift20XX, thank you so much for the raid with the party of 13. Hope you guys are having a great night tonight. Welcome to the channel. We're in the middle of an SMB3 any percent Warpless run between TEEX88, Stewie Cartman, and TheHaxor, three of the greatest runners of this game. Really, really, really great runners. So this is definitely going to be enjoyable. You came at a perfect time, so welcome. We're now on to Airship 2. So all three of our runners having just very similar runs at this point. TEEX88 and TheHaxor just literally within a frame of each other. And the Stewie Cartman, he's right behind him as well. So I definitely don't count anybody out on this one. You know, there's definitely a couple of things that can happen if the Hammer Brothers get into a marathon, and we can kind of explain that a little bit more, especially if it happens. We'll make sure to note that out. But a Hammer Brother, if a Hammer Brother is on the same space as something else, it has to move. So if there's two Hammer Brothers and they both happen to move to the exact same spot, then unfortunately they're going to keep moving, and sometimes they do get caught up with each other because it is randomly generated, and that could cause a marathon. TEEX88 and TheHaxor both going for those fire kills. Stewie Carmen having just a little bit of an issue. Roy was not interested. I'm sorry, Morton was not interested in staying down for him, so he unfortunately was not able to get the fire kill, but he did get the third jump here pretty quick. TEEX88 and TheHaxor are going to be entering World 3 here in just a couple seconds. Stewie Carmen about 10 seconds behind him at this point. Still anybody's game, though. If Stewie Carmen is able to come back, get some really good RNG at this point, not worry about the hands. These are all very easy ways for them to get back. Any unfortunate death is definitely possible. Probably won't see any of those this game. As far as intentional deaths go, that's kind of more of a randomizer run that they would be doing, but any unintentional death here at this point would definitely be unfortunate. Stewie Carmen having to take just a little bit of a detour here. He was able to hold the P-speed though, which is really good. He was able to get a better jump off of the top of that middle rock, but he did have to stop and get the flower, because in this next world, or in this next level of 3-2, the Cheeps do like to be a little difficult to work with, and you do need it for, I believe, 3-3, and especially for the fortress that's coming up. Any of the levels, or any of the fortresses, I should say, are a lot faster with a fire kill on Boom Boom than it would be for anything else. If you're jumping on Boom Boom, that's 3 hits. If you're doing it with a fireball, that's 5, which is actually a lot quicker. Same thing with the Koopa Kids. If it's a Koopa Kid that you're going up against, it's going to be 10 shots with a fireball, or it's going to be 3 jumps on the head. And with them reacting, it just takes so much longer waiting for those jumps than it is for a fireball kill. So we're going to be seeing a lot of those. And depending on the routes that they take, we might actually even see a Hammer Brother at the very end for Bowser. So we'll be watching for that, especially as the runners get into World 7. If they decide to go World 7, 8, then that's going to be very interesting to see, but we'll be pointing that out as well. So now the 3 runners are headed to World 3 F1. It's just kind of shorthand for World 3 Fortress 1. Especially when there's more than one fortress, it's kind of hard to remember which one's which. Unfortunately, Stewie Cartman was going for a third door skip, which is always a lot of fun to see. Basically, that little trick that he was going for is if you're able to hit the up input right as you are entering that third door from this side, you go through it, and then you have to try to go through it again. If you're able to hit it, then it actually puts you directly into the room with Boom Boom. So if you miss it, it's a little bit of a time loss. But if you hit it, it does actually save a couple seconds, and it's wonderful to watch. It is so cool seeing that. It really is a neat trick. But anyway, so all of our runners now headed into 3-4. Pretty standard at this point. It's another one that you press right, and don't stop until you hit the icon at the end. Just make sure that you don't have the cards that are the exact same. Like right now we have TEEX in the top left, who has 2 flowers as his cards. If you get 3 of the same, in the vanilla game, I always loved getting 3 of the same because that meant I had more lives and I could continue to play. These guys got to go fast, and that actually will just waste a lot of time. It takes a lot more time instead of getting the 1-up like we see TheHaxor getting right now. Like that takes a lot less time than the fanfare does, and that's what it's been affectionately known as in the community for a while here. Basically, it goes up in a very nice fireworks display, and it's like, congratulations, you matched all 3, which looks really cool when you're playing the vanilla game for fun, but unfortunately, it takes a lot of time out of this for our runners. So, not interested. We're just going to blow through it real quick. TheHaxor are in the lead at this point, but all 3 of these guys are just right next to each other in a lot of ways. I mean, from TheHaxor entering the final pipe of this world to Stewie Cartman, who's just a level behind, these guys are close, and they're going to keep this close the entire time. So now TheHaxor is going to be the first to enter the World 3 airship, home of Windy Koopa, who is just absolutely terrible and terrifying to contend with. This is one of the least favorite Koopas, I would say, for sure, especially if you're playing, because she has a tendency to like to throw rings whenever she has been hit, or after a while, if there's been no interaction, she will randomly generate another ring as well. And they do get a little bit scary, especially when you've got three jumping around the screen and you're small Mario. Can be a little bit terrifying, not gonna lie. Really appreciate everybody in chat tonight. Hope you're having a wonderful night so far. Really appreciate everyone turning out tonight. Was the highlight of my week for sure. I was looking forward to this all week. SMB3 is just such a great game, and these guys make it look so good. So, Neuromom, thank you so much. They are doing a fantastic job tonight. Definitely show your appreciation to the runners. We'll, put that on display at the end as well. I do ask that you guys get your GGs out at the very end, but we'll come to that later. TEEX with a really cool sub-pixel clip. There, basically, you clip into the side where there's a sub-pixel value, and you're able to use that to jump where you wouldn't normally be able to do that anyway. But no, so far so good. TheHaxor and TEEX both with fire kills. You'll see that for all three of these runners. Hopefully Stewie Cartman is able to get through the fire kill. Wendy's just gets really terrifying with the jumping. You have to time it perfectly. If you can, you actually get the hit out before the ring comes out. Pretty standard play though. So Stewie Cartman is able to join the other two runners as well in World 4. TheHaxor going to be taking the route that takes out all of the enemies here. So I believe, except for that one Koopa, there's really no reason to interact with some of those. But of course, it always looks good. We enjoy seeing that as well. So now TheHaxor is leaving the World 4 level 1. Sorry, that's a mouthful. As TEEX was entering it, so they're just about a level behind, and then Stewie Cartman's going to be just about a level behind there as well. So really exciting still. But it looks like TheHaxor just finishing up 4-2 here. 4-2 is kind of a fun one. It kind of goes up and down with you as you're running. Sorry, there's actually a trick on this one as well that I wanted to specify. So on 4-2, and we should be able to see this on Stewie Cartman's screen here in this next one, the runners do grab one of the disappearing blocks, one of the blue blocks, and they run along with it. And the reason for that is they go for a double kill on one of the Koopas at the very beginning, and that actually just causes one of the piranhas to actually disappear. So it despawns before they're actually able to get there. That way they have a flat surface to build their P speed up on. So it happens very, very quickly, but it's impressive because all three of them hit it. And it's one of those things that if you're not sure what to look for, it took me a long time to figure that out. I wish I would have told you about that a little bit earlier. But we'll watch for that a couple times. There are a couple different places where they will be able to utilize that same tactic of being able to break through or do a double hit on them. And in fact, TheHaxor is demonstrating this here in his level in 4-4. So watch as TEEX does this as well. He's going to use this first Lakitu to jump up onto the rocks, and then he's going to use the second Lakitu. He's going to go for a double kill here with jumping on him and using a fireball, and that actually despawns the next Lakitu to not come back quite so early. So great plays on both of theirs so far. I'm sure we'll see Stewie Cartman do the exact same thing. Like I said, these guys are good, and you're going to be seeing a lot of the same tips and tricks and such between them. So of course, as soon as we see them, we're going to do our best to, or as soon as I see them, I'm going to do my best to explain those as well. TEEX88 using a music box there. We're going to see that from all three of these runners as well. We want to try to keep the Hammer Brothers down as much as possible, because the less movement means less that these guys have to be concerned with there being a possible marathon, as we explained earlier, as well as just getting in the way. Obviously we don't want to play more levels than possible because we got to go fast. So TEEX is able to finish up is entering 4F2, and the TheHaxor is now getting ready for the fourth of the airships here, and that is in fact the home of Iggy Koopa, the fourth of the 7 Koopa kids. TEEX is able to take out Boom Boom with a Fire Flower, that is of course 5 fireballs, and Stewie Cartman able to grab his star as well. Also, on the very left-hand side, there was a end card, and as a kid, I used to love playing that. I used to love trying to get through it as much as possible. I'd grab my Nintendo Power and try to make sure I knew which item was which so I could get fully loaded on the inventory. Once again, we will not be seeing our players run that. That is not something they're interested in. They'll keep the same item for the majority of the map, and at World 7, or the majority of the run. World 7, we are possibly going to be seeing the Hammer Brothers suit come out. That's one of my personal favorites. It has the ability to take out nearly everything, including dry bones and booze, actually. Fire, unfortunately, does not do a thing to the booze. But interestingly enough, it was interesting to see that the Hammer Brothers actually do not do anything to the Koopa kids, though, whereas the Fireball does. So I don't know why they made it like that. I don't know if they thought it was overpowered, that you could take out Bowser with a single hammer, but the Koopa kids it does nothing to. So I don't know, maybe they're just too quick for it. But TheHaxor is about halfway through. TEEX is about a quarter of the way through this World 4 airship. Stewie Cartman just entering it. This is one of the long ones that we're going to see. World 7 is another very long airship. Really not much to talk about. I mean, if I knew any jokes here, I'd probably tell you, but most of mine are just bad jokes or dad jokes. So, anywho, but in the middle of another airship, Iggy is pretty standard. I mean, he's not going to be a chunky boy. He doesn't like to jump around. He really doesn't have any tips or tricks or any kind of things that are interesting. He's just going to be another pretty standard run, or a pretty standard fight for him. It's he's going to run up to the beginning, and there is some manipulation. Maybe I should talk about that here. There is some manipulation within these fights. So the way that the runners position themselves in certain places and the way that they react in certain ways will actually change how the Koopa Kid responds in the boss fight. So, for example, in World 1, depending on where they fight the Boomerang Brother, will actually determine the value that is used for the Koopa Kid, whether he jumps right away, or if he runs towards you, or if he shoots his wand. So there's different ways that you can actually manipulate that, and specifically the different ways to affect that do actually change how the guys are able to fight that. All three so far, TEEX and the TheHaxor are both very successful in getting him to not move. A new strategy that came out is being displayed by the TheHaxor right here. They found out it was actually a little bit quicker to utilize the P-Wing, fly nearly straight up in 4-1, and go after the item there, and that actually quits the a little bit of a trouble getting into the small channel from TEEX, but he's able to get through it the second time. But they did actually find out that saves a little bit of time as opposed to going through the entire level. So now as he enters 4-2, we just saw the TheHaxor do this as well. He's going to use the tail to get a nice easy jump onto one of the note blocks, and then he's going to immediately lose it on the top of the world as well. And he'll lose the tail because that's not going to help him. As we talked about before, it's just way too slow, and unfortunately the 250 frames just aren't enough for our runners, because it is annoying when you're trying to run and then he immediately just stops. That's frustrating, and it's hard to get a good consistent strategy when you don't know when you're going to stop necessarily. So TEEX88 going ahead and using the music blocks, because that's very important here in 4F1. You're already activating your inventory, so you might as well hit it now. Immediately go into the level, because they do last for 2 changes within the game itself. So if that's entering a level, entering a pipe, whatever that is, there is basically you have 2 things that you can do, 2 interactions, if you will. And in this case, it's going to be the fortress and the tower. And then once you're on the top, they don't tend to affect quite as much at that point. So far, no marathons. It looks like it's been pretty consistent so far. The 2 Boomerang brothers that are on the bottom level will interfere with each other because they'll land on the same space the other one is, and they have to keep moving because they obviously can't stay there. Unless Mario's there. But that's a different strategy. We'll talk about that if it comes up. So TEEX88 currently going through the Spiral Tower. Stewie Cartman going through the 4F1 and looking great. This was one of my favorites to watch the P-Speed strat on because you're literally faster than a chunk of rock falling down on you. It cracks me up. I love the physics of this game. Bullet bills come out as well in a couple of the levels, and it doesn't matter. You literally run right past them, and they can't even get there. So Mario faster than a speeding bullet bill, and quicker than getting under a womp. So, I don't know. Superman's got nothing on him, I guess. The TheHaxor able to get through 5 there. Oh my goodness, Stewie Cartman with a very nice trick. He actually was able to spawn a second pipe that's not supposed to exist there. That's actually a little bit of an interesting strat. That's a little bit of manipulation that's required there. If you hit it at the exact right point, the game actually confuses where the pipe entrance is. So by him doing that, he actually prevented himself from having to land and then go up or go straight up into it, and was actually able to hit the pipe entrance going the opposite way. It really doesn't do a whole lot other than it just looks really, really cool and gives me something to talk about. So there you go. The TheHaxor is able to get through 5F2, home of the ever-famous Jesus clip. And of course, that's 5 fireballs later, and boom is gone. Boom Boom is gone, I should say. Teek's able to get through 5-7 as he's entering 5F2. The TheHaxor is on one of my other favorite levels. This one is just getting your timing down perfectly. There's a couple ways to do this, but really, you just small jump, small jump, small jump all the way across. And Toxic Comic, that is correct. TheHaxor is currently in first place, followed about a level behind with Teeks in second place, and then Stewie is taking up the rear. Had a little bit of an issue getting started. Unfortunate, but these guys are good. I mean, it's not over until Bowser falls. And we're going to see another one. 5-9 is also known as Diagonal Doom for very good reason. It's one of the few auto-scrollers that are actually in the levels. We've seen a lot of those at the end of the worlds, but the World 5 Level 9 is Diagonal Doom. It's the only game, or it's the only level in the game where instead of going right or left, Mario actually has to climb in a diagonal pattern. So the camera actually starts to follow you to the top right, and you have to jump on platforms, and it's very chaotic, extremely excruciating, and not something you want to deal with. Remember, we got to go fast, so we don't got time for that. We're not going to play a auto-scrolling level, especially one with the nickname of Diagonal Doom. That's just an accident waiting to happen. So we're going to see the clouds come out for that. Stewie Cartman's going to be finishing up 5-8 here, and then he'll be using his cloud as well. Meanwhile, the TheHaxor about halfway, getting closer to about 3/4 of the way through World 5's airship. He's going to have Roy at the end of this. Teek's kind of towards the beginning, but definitely a close race still. Anybody still, one hiccup could mean the difference in leadership here. So we'll have to see what happens. And yes, it is absolutely true that Stu is memeing. He did say that at the very beginning, that he was going to provide a meme run, I should say, and we've seen that already with the attempted Door 3 skip, which I really wanted to see. It's one of my personal favorites, and of course we'll be watching for clips as well. Up to this point, we really haven't had a clip, and really what that means is that the clips itself, you actually have to get basically caught in a sub-pixel, and then that sub-pixel forces you into a part where the game doesn't understand what you're trying to do or where you're supposed to be. So it reacts by pushing you through and saying, well, you're not supposed to be there, and you were in this wall, so I guess we'll just move you through. And we'll see that really exemplified in 7.1, 7.6, 7.9, 7.5 possibly, and 7.6 I should say is a maybe, but like 7.1, 7.5, yeah, no, 7.6 definitely should be, and 7.9 are the ones that you'll definitely see the clips. Junkyard Dave, honestly, they'll probably go with whatever they feel comfortable with. I know a lot of times 7.1 you virtually have to go for. Going through 7.1 itself is way too long and risky to try to actually play through, and these guys are really good. They'll hit 7.1 pretty quickly, and especially with some of the strategies that have come out with manipulation recently, 7.1 has gotten even more attainable to hit on the first try. And same thing with 7.9. I think they're still working through 7.9 to get those clips going in their favor, but we'll have to watch for that as well. I believe with all three of these runners, they will be going for as many clips as possible, as that is the greatest source of time saved throughout these runs. And actually, KLM brings up a good point. They may go for the 7.9 clips, but I know one of the other things they're doing is they are bringing like the magic wings and the tails into 7.9 so that they can immediately fly up over the first section, which actually removes the ability to do the clips. Stewie Cartman having to get a second power up there just so that he can run across the spikes. You do have to take a double damage boost to get across those, but he did that very nicely. He was able to get through, and now he's going to be going for the orb play as well. This is another interesting part that I found out just actually within the last year that I thought was very interesting. So Stewie Cartman and all three of these runners did these as well. So in 6F1, there's the ability to get a star, and if you're going fast enough, the star itself will actually kill Boom Boom instantly. Like, the game doesn't even know how to react. It literally, instead of taking his HP away, it just obliterates it. I believe it's something like the value is 27, and then it reacts based on every hit. Well, with a star, because it's an insta-kill no matter what you hit, except for Koopa Kids and Bowser for some reason. But if you hit a Boom Boom with a star, it just instantly takes out his HP. An unfortunate death from Stewie Cartman. He was trying to go after the two Hammer brothers there and got just a little out of timed, and then he got hitboxed. Unfortunate death there for Stewie Cartman. You hate to see it. You really hate to see it. Faffy Faff, it is currently TheHaxor in the lead, followed by TEEX88, who is currently finishing up 6F2, and Stewie Cartman taking up the rear. Unfortunate deaths from Stewie Cartman, though. You really, really, really hate to see it. But Stewie Cartman will be utilizing a P-Wing on this one. That's a pretty standard practice as well. There is some manipulation that the TASBot did. There was a TASBot run through SMB3. Very exciting to see. Chaotic. It was super impressive, but unfortunately was not something that a person, a human, actually could do. It's the inputs are literally frame perfect, and people just can't move that fast. So still a very good strat. It doesn't lose any time from the other, so they are able to utilize the P-Wing, which actually plays into 6F2, the Fortress of Solitude, if you will. As we see Stewie Cartman currently going through that, you're able to fly through about the first half of the level, which actually works really, really well, because then you're not being delayed by the thwomps that have to do their thing, and you either damage boost or you just have to wait for them. So it works really well, being able to do that, not having to wait for those thwomps and already having the P-Wing from 6.5. So it's kind of a win-win, honestly, at that point. Currently waiting on TEEX88 going through the escalator. I should say TEEX88 is waiting on the escalator to get to Boom Boom. 2 fireballs will enter the room before he gets there, and that'll be enough to take down Boom Boom with 3 more. And he will be joining TheHaxor here in just one moment. on the World 6 airship, another long one. There is a clip that can be done here. We'll see if any of them go through it. It doesn't actually add anything, but it's definitely enjoyable to watch. I definitely enjoy clips as well. Unfortunate for Stewie Cartman, he's actually going to have to go back and get an item here so that he can continue to make it through the rest of this level, hopefully without any further damage. He is able to get the Fire Flower, which he should be able to hold on to now until Lemmy, the fight with that. So the TheHaxor with approximately a 30-second lead. Thank you, Toxic Comet, for that. I do appreciate that. Still anybody's game. I mean, there is a possibility that if one of these runners gets all 3 hands within Bowser's Castle or within World 8, that could spell the difference of a leadership change. So TEEX88 looks like he is and did go for the clip. He was able to hit that. A beautiful clip. You love to see it. It's just a lot of fun. That one really doesn't do anything. It just looks cool. But as the camera starts to come up, we'll see him on the top there. And he will be going after Lemmy here in just one moment, as we just saw the TheHaxor do. My personal favorite Koopa Kid, when he came to Mario Kart, I was super excited, and I started racing him with this rainbow mohawk. You gotta love it. At least I do. I don't know about you, but he is my favorite. And you know, him jumping on or balancing on a carnival ball is always fun as well. So as we see the TheHaxor leaving World 6, we see Stewie Cartman entering World 6 airship, and TEEX is about halfway between the two as he is leaving. The TheHaxor with his first attempt, unfortunate miss on 7-1. Going to be interesting. Okay, 3 times, no big deal. 3 times is not a big deal at all. Usually it takes about 14 to 17, depending on how the clips are. Before you are actually losing time, which and then of course our runners will continue to do, because 7-1 is just way too long. It's way too long to play, and obviously if you hit the clip shortly thereafter, you still save time as opposed to going through the level. TEEX 1, 2, hopefully he'll get it here, 3, and unfortunately, there we go, TEEX88 with a 5th try was able to get through the clip. Unfortunately, one of the biggest issues with missing the clip the first time is if you've set up the manipulation so that you know exactly where the memory is going to be, and you hit that the first time, obviously you're exactly where you're supposed to be. But if you miss it the first time, then you have to reset it up and hope that you get the value again, so that that subpixel will be available, so that you can actually go in and finish it off and get the clip to finish the level and go through it without having to go through it. So anyway, we've seen that now with the TheHaxor and TEEX. Hopefully Stewie Cartman has just a little bit more success with that. Let's go for a first try here. That would definitely be huge here. 7-5 is not going to be played, and neither is 7-4. 7-5 is only played in 100%, and it has no place here. We saw the TheHaxor use a P-Wing here. This is 7F1, also known as Fort Knox. It does have some P switches that will turn all those blocks in the first room into gold coins. So if you're hurting on some lives, then great place to fill up. You know, you can get a whole bunch of power-ups there. And if you're low on power, or a whole bunch of 1-ups, if you're low on power-ups, you also could get a Tanuki suit there as well. And then, of course, all 3 of these runners will be skipping 7-4 also, as that is an auto-scrolling water level, and not a fun one by any stretch of the imagination. The TheHaxor currently going through 7-6, having a little bit of problems, as we just saw Stewie Cartman as well. He had a 7-1 issue. You hate to see it. You really, really hate to see it. You know, these clips are hard. I think it's very apparent with these that it is hard to hit some of these clips. It takes a lot of practice. And unfortunately, with them being temperamental and not knowing what the memory value is, you just kind of have to hope that you've got the right one and make it stick. Huge play from TEEX88 there. He got to 7-6, 1 shot, 1 kill, no luck, all skill. He is through 7-6 with 1 shot on that clip. That is what you like to see. That is absolutely outstanding. Also, I've been noticing some pop-ups in the middle. I haven't really said anything about them, just because this race has been so enthralling. I do apologize about that. Thank you so much to everybody that's donated thus far and continues to donate. You guys are donating to an absolutely outstanding cause. Keep up the great work. You know, this is absolutely amazing, and you guys are amazing. So thank you so much for that. We talked about it before. The hammer suit is now coming out. This one is a lot of fun. It does take just a little bit more time to get the hammer suit, but it also speeds up the Bowser fight at the very, very end. So if you're able to hold on to it, you're actually saving yourself a little bit of time. If you don't keep the Hammer Brother suit, unfortunately, that is a waste of time. But now we are into 7F2, known as Bowser's Piranha Inferno Disco, as some of the chat likes to know it as. And TEEX, unfortunately, unable to keep his P-speed, but he will be able to take out a thwomp with a hammer, because that makes sense, and we'll be able to hopefully finish this off here pretty quickly. Unfortunately, without that P-speed, he is going to have to regain that P-speed in order to get through this. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I was wrong. He did not need to re-get the P-speed, but he was able to get through without losing the Hammer Brother suit. So well played on his part. Stewie Cartman actually taking the less risky strategy. He utilized a P-wing there and was able to just fly over the World 7-6 there. So, well, I am very happy that you are impressed with the announcing Faffy Faff. Chat, certainly if you have any questions about this game, if you have a question about what the runners are doing, why they're doing what they're doing, certainly ask. I am very happy to do that. There's a lot going on here. Definitely a lot of things that can be confusing, like, hey, why'd they do that? So certainly, please let me know. And if not, we could definitely talk about them afterwards. I believe we're going to bring the runners back for a little bit of interviews. So if you have any questions for the runners, certainly get them into chat. They do love answering viewers' questions. I know all three of these guys from previous races. And not only are they absolute outstanding SMB3 runners, they are absolutely outstanding for their viewers. I mean, I've been following these guys for a long time. Got to give them kudos. They really are great people and great fun to watch. But so now we are in probably the riskiest and scariest of the airships. There are some floating platforms towards the end, which we just saw the TheHaxor go through, and TEEX is currently going through as well. This is definitely one of the longer ones, and if you're not careful, those spinning bolts will actually flip you off the level. I realized after I said it what I said, and I'm not going to go back and change it, so sorry about that. But anyway, Stewie Cartman is going to utilize the same strategy, not go through the different levels and put the piranhas to sleep before it's... or put the piranha to sleep before going to World 7 airship. So the TheHaxor currently finishing off World 7's airship. The fight with Ludwig von Koopa is pretty quick and easy. Okay, we got a question for a TheHaxor. If TEEX made you a chimichanga, would you eat it? I'm not going to lie, a chimichanga sounds amazing right now. So I think if TEEX was making chimichangas, I hope to be a part of that as well. But anywho, so now we join the TheHaxor in World 8. There are a couple more auto scrollers that we're going to be going through here. Again, in some of the other versions that are being more popularized, these auto scrollers have been turned off, which actually is a lot of fun because the P-speed strats on here are just so incredible to watch. But we don't have that. We're just playing vanilla this time, so sit back, sit tight. We're going to go through some tanks here, and then next is the Navy. And no, we are not swimming underneath them because, believe it or not, it actually takes a lot more time. And it is possible to go too far down and actually leave the level early, we'll call it. So we are not very interested in doing that. We don't want to jeopardize this run at this point. All three of these runners are coming in hot. They're doing a very fantastic job so far. I'm still excited about this race. I hope you guys are as well. TEEX and the TheHaxor are both on the Army, and Stewie Cartman is finishing off World 7 here, and he'll be taking on the fight with Ludwig von Koopa as well. So Lemmy may be my favorite Koopa kid, but I'm pretty sure Ludwig von Koopa is the greatest Koopa kid name out of any of them. I'm just going to say it. Hot take. That's my point. But anyway, Stewie Cartman is taking on the earthquaking Ludwig von Koopa. And of course, 3 shots later, that is it for him. And he will be meeting up with World 8 here in just a moment as well. As Toxic Comic has pointed out, you're absolutely correct. Hands are crucial. And what the hands are is, as soon as we see the TheHaxor get through the Navy, he's actually going to be headed over to the hand part of World 8. And what that is it's a randomly generated, as far as anybody can tell, it's completely random. You just either get a yes or no. Either the hand is going to reach up and grab you and drag you slowly into the level to play it, or you're going to be able to go by without having to contend with it at all. And they don't take a whole lot of time, so it's not something that you're going to see them try to immediately take an early exit and try to pass again. They will play it, and each of the 3 will provide a leaf at the very end. At this point in the run, it is not necessary, it is not needed, it is not even welcomed. Not for these runners. They're going to be blowing through 8-1, 8-2, and then World. I believe they're actually going to skip World 8 Fortress 1. That's a different strategy that they've been implementing here soon, or recently as well. So we probably won't see World 8 Fortress get played. It's one of my favorites. I think it's very interesting. A lot of corridors, a lot of different places. You can go in one door, pop out in a different door in a different part of the level. But we're not going to see it because it takes so long to get through. So that is something that we will be seeing a difference on. So not many levels left. The hands are going to come up here soon. We'll see who has to play them. So the TheHaxor, he's going to be coming up here first. We'll be watching him to see how many he has to play. Oh, he will only have to play once. That's very exciting. And this is actually not a very terrible one at all. He'll be able to burn through this cheap level. No sweat, no problem. He's gone. He's through. That is it. So 1 hand for the TheHaxor. Very nice. And then the TEEX88 will be coming up here shortly in just a moment. We'll see how many hands he gets. And then just a minute or 2 behind them, we will get Stewie Cartman's as well. So as he goes into the Navy, we see TEEX88 currently going through the 2nd hand. I believe this is the fastest of the 3, or the shortest of the 3, I should say. I don't believe it's the fastest. But Teeks currently with 1. We'll see if he has to take on a 2nd one. Stewie Cartman having a little bit of a juggling act. Unfortunate for Teeks. That is a 2-hand for him. So he's going to go behind just a little bit further as the TheHaxor extends his lead with a fight through the Air Force here. All perfectly timed, of course. You'll love to see that. Always looks so good. I'm always so impressed by these guys. They know exactly where things are. They know exactly where the platforms are going to be, when the Monty Mole's pipe popping up, when to throw the right hammer at the right time. It's impressive. The Hammer Brothers suit, while a little bit overpowered, it can be a little bit tricky actually throwing the hammer and making sure it hits its spot where it's supposed to. If you're running peace speed, then the hammer will also go at peace speed. But if you're not quite moving as fast, the hammer actually has a different trajectory as well. So kind of fun to see. It's a little bit trickier than it looks. These guys just make it look really, really easy. But and like the TheHaxor going through 8-1 here, it's beautiful. It's such a thing of beauty. That is one of the trickiest and hardest levels in the game, and he just blew it through it like it was nothing. This is another one that's fun to watch. He'll take out the Angry Sun, which is in the Dark Sky world, because that makes sense. So not able to take out the sun there, but he will do that here in just one moment, I do believe. Blind jump, because we can. Whatever. He's through. Angry Sun's gone. Big deal. Stewie Cartman is, I believe, he just got through the 1st hand. Hopefully that's all he has to contend with. Yeah, so Stewie Cartman had 1 hand as well. And so Teeks with 2 and the other 2 with 1. That's That's actually pretty good. 3 hands is obviously not what we wanted. Um, no big deal. You know, good job on all 3 of these parts. I am incorrect. The TheHaxor is actually going to be playing through 8F1, which means I believe TEEX is as well, because I don't believe that they have another cloud because they used it in 7.4. I believe that was the change of strategy that these guys have done previously. 8.1, not really all that terrifying to go through. It just takes a little bit of time, and if you're able to hit the 1 cycle at the very end, you hit a P switch towards the beginning, and if you can get all the way to the end, then you don't have to worry about it again. You don't have to find the other one and hit it. You're just able to go through and then immediately go on to the very end. So we'll watch TEEX do that here in just a moment. So he's going to utilize a star to not have to worry about avoiding the orbs or anything like that. So we will see him utilize the P switch here in just a moment. So here comes the P switch. So now he's going to run all the way through. He will do just a little bit of a cutback to avoid the orb, and then he's going to be entering into the second door, and that's how you do it. It's so impressive. That is hard to do, but very, very nicely done. TEEX taking out the sun. You'll love to see it. It's a dark sky. You might as well put the sun out. That way it's not... Oh, no! Unfortunate damage from Stewie Cartman. He was not able to keep his P speed there. So unfortunate. He is not going to be able to go for the hammer kill, as we will hopefully see the TheHaxor and TEEX go for. You hate to see it. You really do. You've come this far. Stewie Cartman's actually going to go through the sand of shame, as it's sometimes called. But you know, I've gone through this, I think, almost every single time I've played this game, so I can't fault him for that at all. But he will go through, and he will go... No, not go for the 1-up. Not necessary here. But that does put him just a little bit further through, and actually is a little bit of a safer route without having to do the... without having to contend with the Angry Sun or the other Piranha Plants. So, safe route. I can applaud him for that. That's definitely a good choice on his part. He will have to power up here in just a moment. But we'll come back to that in just one moment. The TheHaxor is now our first finisher. At a time, it'll be right before 52 minutes is up. Probably be very close to a 51, 52 or so. So get your GGs out for sure. And get your GGs out for TheHaxor. We'll do it again here in just a moment for TEEX. So very well done. A sub 52 is absolutely outstanding. Congratulations to the TheHaxor for a very nice run. One hand, very well done. That's one of those things you love to see. TEEX88, he'll be going for a Bowser kill here in about the next 30 seconds as well. And then the Stewie Cartman will be going for a fire kill. He was able to hold on to that fire flower. He was able to grab one. So he'll be going through a fire kill, which is just a little bit different. It is 30 fireballs to take out Bowser, whereas the hammer suit, of course, is just 1 hammer. And of course, all of them are going to be a lot faster than waiting for Bowser to jump through the 3 bricks layers and finally go through the very bottom. So, but very nicely done by all 3 of these runners so far. TEEX with I believe a sub 53. He'll go through in about 52, 56. So very well done on TEEX's part as well. So get your GGs out also for TEEX. And if you haven't done it for the TheHaxor, do that too. And even for Stewie Cartman, I mean, he's done a very good job. Anything less than 55 is just mind-blowing to me still. I mean, these guys are so, so very good. They really, truly are. So definitely show your appreciation for that as well. Show your appreciation for the guys coming out, doing a great run. Show your appreciation, that's a hard word to say. English is hard. For Strizer and for the whole crew that's putting things on, for Simply Azuma, for everybody else behind the scenes that's doing this. GG's for all of them. What a better cause could you have than this? You know, Game Over Cancer, working with Canadian Cancer Society. Very, very good support, and you know, great causes to support here as well. Stewie Cartman is going for a sub-pixel clip to try to get to the base of the escalator and try to jump through which is a lot of fun to watch. You know, you got to hand it to him. You know, put on a little bit of a meme show here, but he's unfortunately not able to get those, so he'll just go through the old-fashioned route, and by old-fashioned I mean he'll still do the clip there, and we will see the end of Bowser here in just one moment. So he's able to keep his P speed through this fireball room. With the fireballs being at certain intervals, you can actually plan around that. So now he'll go over Bowser. He'll do a jump or a duck here, so he doesn't take damage from Bowser, because the only spot that would hit would be the lower half of Bowser, which in the original NES version does not actually have a hitbox. And then 30 fireballs later, and Bowser is done. And we will get a sub 55 from Stewie Cartman as well. So get your GGs out for all three of these runners. Very well played, guys. GG's.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone, for the awesome, awesome runs. We are going to get geared up for our next run here.